I'm on. Can you hear me? Hello? Dawn, are you there?
Hey.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, Jolie.
He's muted. Come say hi. She might be doing the same thing. If you are jumping on, go ahead and say hi and where you are currently located at.
Well, you guys know me. I'm Jolie.
Oh,
I'm an NDA, and so is Miss Jenna. Jenna is my cohort for our business development and coroner's office and funeral home relationships partners.
Perfect.
So I coordinate a lot with her about making sure that our partners are happy with our reconstruction, thanks to you guys, and making sure our teams are doing as close to pre-recovery reconstruction as possible.
Perfect. We like to hear that. It was Jenna, correct?
That's me. Hi. Thank you guys for putting this on for us.
We are excited. We got it. Hopefully we have a few more jump on. If you have just joined us, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. If you just joined us, go ahead and say hello, tell us your name and where you are currently joining us from.
Hello, this is Adriana Samsao with Nevada Donor Network.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
We'll give it a few more minutes. And everybody can have their videos on. I don't have to be the only one with a face on here.
I'll turn mine on in a second, Tara.
Okay, sounds good. I thought I'd let you guys see the beautiful background of Zion National Park. I couldn't be up there in person, so I brought it to you here. Let's see. Okay, I know somebody else was dialing in, but give them one more minute to jump on. If you haven't already introduced yourself, go ahead and say hi and tell us where you are coming from today. Okay, we'll let other people just get on as they are able to. Hopefully we have a few more. There we have. Hey, Tiffany, welcome.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you are from today.
Hello, I am Tiffany Scott. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I work at Nevada Donor Network.
Yay. We love you guys down there. You sure are a good support. Okay, looks like we've got another one that just
Hey,
joined.
Tara, it's Nick.
Oh, good. I was wondering if that was you. Welcome, Nick.
Yeah, I was dialing the wrong code. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you are from.
Sure, it's Nick Cleary. I'm at LifeLink Tissue Bank located in Tampa, Florida.
Very jealous of the Florida climate down there. So.
It's 95 degrees right now. I don't know how jealous I'd be.
Well, okay. Maybe I'm just jealous of the scenery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us. This is the Maiden Voyage. We want to help the OPO world get educated, and we can do that through educating each other. So I am going to be your moderator. Is that the term? And go ahead and introduce my CEO, Dr. Jonathan Baugh. He has been in medicine for about 11 years. And while he was going through med school, sorry, just had a blank there. He did tissue recovery. So that's how Baugh Medical was born. And then, so he's gonna give us a little bit of a PowerPoint. And then unfortunately our guy that was lined up, our guest speaker, had a recovery that he had to do. Every one of you know that those pop up. And so we're gonna kind of wing it. I think at the end, we're gonna open it up for some Q&A, maybe some, it's an open forum idea. If you have anything you're struggling with, think of that while we're doing this, and then we can see if we can share some of those ideas and see if anybody here might have a solution for that. So should I go ahead and turn the time over to you, John?
Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks everybody for jumping on today. I know some of you, but I do know that Tara has the relationship with most of the OPOs that we work with, and she's done a great job of building relationships across the country with a lot of OPOs, and just really represents the company really great. For those of you who don't know me and only know Tara, as a brief background, we were talking earlier, and she asked, well, how long have you been in medicine? I said, well, I finished med school in 2009. And then I realized, if I think back, I've really been in medicine since more than 20 years. As I started out in the industry, kind of working and getting ready to go to med school, and then working during med school. And she had mentioned that I was involved in the industry for a while. And some of you may not know this, but during med school, I worked for LifeNet out of their Roanoke, Virginia office. And I was a tissue recovery technician and a tissue a team lead for the 4 years that I was in med school. And that's really what brought me and this company and my family into this industry. And one of the main things that did was I looked at the things that we were doing for recovery at the time. And I said, I think that we can do things better. And I think that we can bring better solutions for the donor and for the donor family. And I know sometimes it sounds almost a little sappy, and we kind of but we do talk about it a lot. And I think that is because at our core, we as a company, and really those individuals like yourselves that are in this industry, really just want the best for the donor, and they want the best for the family. And I think that's true. pretty universally across this industry. And so it's always amazing to me. I love going to the conventions and meetings and being able to be together with a group of people who really are doing a great job for a lot of great people. So with that being said, one of the things that I love to do is I love to be able to educate. I love to be able to teach. I've taught at various levels in the education field. And so when I think about, well, what do I want to do and what do I want out of something? I usually want to learn something. I want to be educated. And so although our company is all about reconstruction, what we're hoping to build over the next few months is a forum where maybe on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, we want to gauge your guys' interest as an area where we can come for education. And we want to hear about your guys' concerns with recovery and reconstruction. We want to hear about your guys' trials and triumphs. We want to hear about the great things that you're doing. And we want to have a place where we can educate. And so send us your ideas of what you guys want to talk about. This, I will be the first to say that this may be a little clunky this first time. I do a lot of Zoom meetings for other reasons, and but this particular educational platform we hope really takes off over the next few months. So we appreciate your time, and that's the truth. I tell people all the time a couple of things. One, more data is better, so let's figure out some data here. Let's figure out what makes things better. And two, I just want to take care of more people better, and that's those two very true statements. So anyway, I'm gonna share my screen just so we have a basis of where to start from, and what we want to be sharing, or what we want to be talking about, I should say. So when Tara asked me about what did I want to talk about to start with, there's a couple of areas that I really thought about. What are we doing new? What are we doing differently? And what's on people's minds? And there's two big areas for me. One is COVID-19. And we can talk about that if you guys want as well. I've become a subject matter expert on COVID-19, and I've been on a lot of TV and radio shows, being able to talk about how that's affecting our daily life. And I would like to hear maybe at the end how that is affecting you guys as OPOs and as individuals, and how are you dealing with that in work and home and family, and it's a big new thing for all of us, and you all may have great ideas for each other. So, and the other thing I thought about was, well, what have we done new and differently? And that's one of those is our thoracic cavity recovery. And so when I look at how do we introduce this idea and how do we talk about it, I thought, well, let's teach about the anatomy. Let's teach about the donation. Let's talk about the tissues that are there, and then a solution that we have and questions that you guys might have. So this is something that you guys are well aware of, and that is the fact that tissue recovery is definitely a labor of love. And 39,000 tissue donors every year. That's 39,000 people who have volunteered to donate tissue, and you can see over here, 1.75 million tissues are transplanted each year, and that's just amazing things, and that's what we talk about so much at our meetings about the selfless sacrifice for so many people. And I'll say this: my as a physician, I'm trained and practice as an emergency medicine physician. And so even as it carries over into my everyday practice, I still do stay connected tightly with the donor world as we make decisions in the ER, and as I'm sending people up to the ICU about people getting connected with donor services, and how can we help grieving families, and how can we help other families who are in need of a transplant or tissue or whatever it is. So anyway, so thank you guys very much for being involved in this and helping to facilitate that 1.75 million tissues that are transplanted every year. And so, well, what kind of tissues does that mean? And there's sort of two different worlds here. And one is those tissues that are solid organs. And so we talk about the organ world, and we talk about the tissue world. And some of you may crossover. Some of you may be doing both. You may be doing a live organ recovery with your OPOs, and some of you may be only doing tissue and tissue banks. And I've had the chance to be able to involve with both sides. I think that both are fantastic. And there are many great crossovers within many of the OPOs. But really the one tissue that is a crossover between the two really is the heart. If we start talking about, well, who's recovering the heart, both recovery agencies, tissue recovery teams, and organ recovery, organ procurement organizations and organ teams are recovering the heart. And they're both reasons, whether it's as the solid organ for a transplant, or whether it's the heart for valves, or the surrounding tissues that are involved with that, which are the heart for valves, the ribs, and the pericardium. And I know that if you're not doing that right now, then maybe that's something that's such on your horizon. But I think everybody here is, if I know the organizations well. So cardiac valve replacement. This is why we recover valves. This is why we recover hearts in this side, in the tissue world. It's all about those valves, really, by and large. And there's not really great data out there that I could find about how many of those 106,000 valves that are a year are cadaver donated valves versus mechanical, porcine or prosthetic valves. But I do know it's a large portion, but it changes as our capabilities and our technology changes. In fact, I know probably the two valves that are replaced the most, the mitral valve and the aortic valve, they both have different capabilities that are growing right now. And one of the things that you guys may see a lot is new models for replacing the aortic valve, especially. And so that may change our industry just a little bit, because they're doing more and more what's called a TAVR, TAVR, and that is the capability to be able to replace an aortic valve just from within the lumen of the great vessels. And so much more like replacing a stent in a heart almost. So the last thing that I really want to talk about here, as this side, is about the anatomy and about the tissues that are there. And so I told Sarah when I was kind of thinking about the idea of looking at this, for me, when I started doing tissue recovery, I worked with a group of individuals that were not medical in background. My favorite tissue lead and office manager, as they say in the South, before she came to work for LifeNet, she kept kids. And that made me a little anxious at first. She said, well, I kept kids. And I thought, man, she's a kidnapper. She's holding at hostage small children from their parents. But what that means in the South is she had an at-home daycare. And so they learned their anatomy just sort of by brute force. It was in there. And so they talked about heart valve recovery by looking at the big vessel that came out of the top of the heart and fall around and get some of the arch and get some of the curve, they would say, and then you got to get three of the little branches going off there. And so I was a med student when I very first started recovery, and so I really sort of took the opportunity to be able to start teaching. I'd had a lot of anatomy, and I'd been in the medical world for a long time already at that point. And so I think that as each of you are looking at this, I think one of the best things that happens from this is we all learn anatomy, and it's a great opportunity to be able to be in the chest. So obviously, when we look at anatomy and landmark, we're looking at the ability to recover that pericardium. we're looking at that ability to be able to recover the entire heart and the great vessels, right? The inferior and superior vena cava, the pulmonic vessels as well, and then of course where the large aorta. And usually we extend up and get some of the brachiocephalic trunk on both sides, and then we take that with us. And that heart that recover is then able to be processed for the valves that are within that, depending upon the age of the donor and the condition of those valves, whether or not they'll be able to be utilized later. And one of the things that we know is very, very valuable, and we can talk about if you guys want, is those pediatric cardiac recoveries, and how rare they are, but how valuable they are to be able to recover, less than 30-day hearts, or less than 12-month-old hearts, because one of the nice things about those valves versus a prosthetic is the fact that they grow with the patient. And so those are really important things that I think how can we best serve individuals, and that's by actually being able to have those unique opportunities to be able to recover those valves. In fact, I took care of a patient just the other day who has a really unique condition. Maybe some of you know about it. It's called tetralogy of Fallot, and it has 4 different cardiac abnormalities in these newborns that allow them to mix their blood. So they function on mixed oxygenated blood. They kind of run at about 70 to 80% oxygen saturation, but they have to go through stage processes of fixing that coarctation of the aorta, and be able to fix that pulmonic valve stenosis. And often they get a new valve in there, and he had as well. And so that recovered pediatric valve for him was it's truthfully a life changer. And he was 10 years old now, and doing fantastically. So that's sort of the end of this side of it. And what I know that Tara and I talked about was the ability to kind of talk about some of your questions as far as within the educational side or the recovery side, or hear some of your guys' thoughts. And then I would like to introduce, or have Tara introduce, some of the stuff that they've been working at in the shop about how we have figured out some of the issues. Because I'll tell you this, one of the things I think about when I was recovering, one of our biggest concerns with the chest was, one, getting appropriate access, right? And then about recovering ribs, being able to maximize the amount of bone that we were recovering, and yet being able to still provide a great reconstruction. And so our solution at the time was to be able to recover every other rib, so that we would have still a chest wall, chest cavity interiorly for viewing funerals. And that was something that we did at the time, so that there was still an anterior. And so Sarah can talk about the things that we've done to be able to solve that solution. But maybe there's some other people who have some ideas of what's been difficult for you guys, or what you have done to be able to provide new solutions, or whatever it is. But if anybody has any questions or comments, I'd love to be able to hear them now. Jolie's always got great ideas, and I know Nick's an expert in this area as well, and maybe others that just have some great ideas about concerns or questions or comments about the anterior chest reconstruction or chest or thoracic cavity recovery.
Ah!
Well, I'm not sure who's making the squealing noise, but it was.
Oh!
Did you still want to share your screen, or did you want to go back to the viewing screen?
No, I was panicking because I couldn't unmute.
Oh no!
Who was that put it on mute that was saying that?
Of course it's Jolie, because I
Oh.
always have shit to say.
Let's hear it, Jolie.
No, I had to switch to my phone, so I wasn't sure if I was able to unmute or not. No, but I have several members of my recovery staff that are on there that I would really like to speak up now or forever hold their peace.
Oh,
Let's call out maybe Tiffany. Do you have you found a problem or something maybe that that you've ran into that you found a solution for? Something that might be beneficial for other people here?
Sorry, not right off the top of my head. Not that I can think of immediately.
Okay, thanks. Nick, are you still there?
Yeah, I got you.
When I was talking to you prior, is there something that you've ran into, had a struggle with, that you are able to share with us?
The recovery process, not so much. I would say the only thing, like after you and I spoke, that I talked about is, and I guess Dr. Bondish talked about it too, is how you remove certain ribs, not all the ribs, enough ribs to leave for reconstruction purposes. And we kind of, I guess, we don't do ribs, full ribs. Currently, we're doing sternum. And so we basically take the sternum as the same size as the prosthetic or prosthesis to put in its place so that it looks anatomically correct when it's reconstructed. But I mean, that is something that we've encountered in the past is when you remove a lot of ribs and it gives that chest wall a different appearance, it does change how you reconstruct. So, I mean, that's one of the areas that definitely can be looked at.
Can I say something that makes me think about this? So one of the things that I'll share two things real fast. We don't want to go real long here. We know that you guys' time is real valuable, my thoughts always in the process of creating our prosthetics and then developing new techniques and technology here has always been a couple of things in mind. One, ease of use for the recovery team. That's one. And then two, to be as anatomically correct as possible. Well, that was one of the reasons I went into medicine as a physician, was I really loved human anatomy. And so when we've designed a lot of our prosthetics, we've really tried to mimic human anatomy as much as possible. And so we think we've done that here, and Tara's going to share something here in a minute. And then the other side of that, sort of what Nick was sharing, is like, we really want these reconstructions to be great, because I think everybody has their own techniques in recovery, and maybe some of those are unique to your office even, or unique to your company. But what we all hope together is the best reconstruction so that donor families can be happy. One of my really, really good friends here in St. George, Utah, his daughter passed away, I think it's been 1.5 years ago now. And she was a donor. And he said, you know, she was 15 years old. And, you know, that was the hardest thing that happened in his life. He lost his daughter. He said the only bright moment in it all was the letters that he got from the recovery agency about the tissues that were, and organs that were donated and transplanted. And so that reconstruction helped him as well, to be able to look at his daughter and to be able to say, you know, this is my daughter, and we were able to do something good out of a horrible situation. And so as we think about that, that's kind of the basis of all of our decisions, I think, here. So I think Tara was going to share real quick with you guys, and like I said, we want to be cognizant of your time. but sort of some of BOM Medical's ideas of how we can help that and make that better for anterior thoracic cavity reconstruction.
Don't worry, I don't want to take a lot of time. So for those of you that have seen some of our previous product, we had a style even before this, thin wood, so it's pretty thin. We had a bulkier one that had been laced up, but this proved to be pretty useful to have it thin. It was, you know, still bendable there, so it's still shaped, and we had them in various sizes. But as you guys know, BOM Medical, we like to see if there's something that can be done better. And so we had some fabric and some paper laying around and came up with a cloth chest plate. So it's very much in the style of the other one, but it has a little bit more give. But the real benefit of this is that it's able to be trimmed with just some shears that you're already going to have in the OR there. And it doesn't get sharp edges. It will trim to the shape that you need it pretty true. We've sent it out to a bunch of R&D OPOs that we know do the chest recovery, and one of the phrases that I liked was that they were pretty skeptical, didn't think that it was going to work, but they were going to give it a try, and they were pleasantly surprised. So this is something that is new to us, and we hope that it will be a good solution for those of you that are doing those chest recoveries. We still do have them in all of the various sizes, but we feel that you won't need the petite. You'll be able to trim down that standard size that we have, but we will offer the large, because some of those big buffet size people, especially down there in Nevada, they still will need that big size. But one of the other ones that we need some help from you guys with, I think, Nick, you guys are going to help us, and I think we have another one, that we have this pediatric size, and we haven't dealt much with pediatric product. We're wanting to get into them, and so we would appreciate, you know, a doodle, a sketch, or something, if this works, to have that size fit the pediatric cases that you guys have. So
I'll be more than happy to try it. The thing with the pediatric cases, though, is since we don't remove ribs, costal cartilage, sternum, we expose enough with a retractor, remove the thymus, pull the heart, and then the actual structural integrity of that cage is still there. So when we do our reconstruction of a Y, a U, or a midline, anatomically speaking, you don't see any deformities because we didn't remove any of the actual structure.
okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
That would be the same with us, Tara. We don't actually recover chest plates for any pediatric cases. So at this point, that wouldn't be anything that we would utilize either.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you this too along that line, because that was my same experience in recovery. But we've been asked by a couple of OPOs that actually aren't on here right now to be able to provide that, and I haven't been able to figure out why. We'll have to maybe circle back with them individually, specifically, to figure out why. But I'm not sure. Definitely the usage, but so I mean, we'll circle back with them and see their uses there, because I never did recover that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've had a couple of
small parts, but never ribs in that small.
Correct. Cardiovascular, hearts for sure, but never any tissue or costal cartilage for that age.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Real quick story, or a real quick, almost sort of a joke, real fast. Just thinking about the large that we have, because what we really find is that large isn't used as much as the standard is, and that can be trimmed down. There was an ER doc that I worked with in Florida. So I did my internship, Nick. I did my internship in St. Petersburg, not just out on the peninsula from you. And actually, when I was doing a rotation down in Miami, actually in Fort Lauderdale, there's this ER doc, and he's this old Russian guy. And this lady had came into the ER, and she was kind of big, heavy set gal, and she'd fallen, and she was afraid that she broke her hip. And she was talking to my attending, and had said, listen, I know I'm kind of big. I've always kind of been big boned, but I am afraid that I broke my hip. And took some x-rays, and he came back and he said, I have good news and I have bad news. Good news, you did not break your hip. Bad news, you are not big boned. And so the reason I share that is because most of the time there's not big bones inside. It's usually those standard sizes that we have. We've really designed to be able to fit our standard sizes, or our sizing across the spectrum fits about 98% of the population. And we've done good studies with that bill to show that. But so keep that in mind. There's not always big bones inside. There's might be some big skin opportunities though. So.
John, that's one of my favorite things that you've ever told me. So Tiffany, did you have something you were gonna share with us?
Yeah, I was questioning the large chest plates, just because we do tend to recover a big part of the ribs with the sternum. We try to even get down to the floating ribs and everything. So I just didn't know how big those were. So I don't think it's more of a trim down issue. If anything, we would need it a little bit wider.
Yeah, so let me hold up. So this is our standard size. And it's about that much bigger than the standard. I don't have the dimensions on the.
Do you remember the dimensions on it? I don't remember the dimensions on the top.
I do not. I could go back and find Steve.
We can send those to you dimensions wise if you want.
Yeah, sure. It doesn't hurt. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. So I know that I've measured out the material, but I haven't measured out the large for a minute. So yeah, we'll get those large measurements to you. So we did have, I think, a few other people join on. If any of you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that goes along with cardiac recovery or reconstruction, take the floor.
I'll say this real fast too. One of the things that I mentioned at the very beginning, and Tara mentioned as well, is I think she's going to be reaching out to HEU individually, and then some additional resources as well. We just want to build a forum here that we provide some really great education. This one did, like we said, it kind of got changed at the last minute because of a recovery, and changed some of our presentation, what we wanted to do. But what we do want to do is we want to tap into you guys and use some of your resources, your years of recovery experience, but also to know what it is that you want to teach about, what it is that you want to learn about, and how can we help in the process. If we can provide an additional solution, great. If we can just provide a forum, great. We're really here for the industry, and we want to be doing good things. So I know Tara's going to be reaching out to everybody and just say and figure out what is our next forum going to be and involve, whether it's saphenous vein or Achilles tendon, or whether it's some of our skin solutions, whatever it happens to be. So. And
don't worry, we'll give you more than a day's notice. So we appreciate people willing to talk and to fill in. So we'll work on getting some subject matter and be able to cover the topics that you guys would really like to hear about. So anybody think of anything, or are we looking at we can wrap this up?
Okay.
Nick, you got anything?
No, I'm good. I'm just going to start, racking my brain so we can communicate and see what we can put together to make it, mutually advantageous for everybody that attends.
Cool.
Perfect. I like that. And I think Jolie left, but do any of you other NDN Pete's got anything to add, or?
Same thing. I just kind of want to talk to our team as a whole, see what we can do, what we'd like to learn from you guys as well. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much. We appreciate all you guys jumping on.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Be safe. Wash your
Thanks.
hands.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep. Have a good day. Bye.